Weitzel reciting for the Literary Guild in their Poet Laureate competition. And I hope you enjoy the poems that I have. The first one is about a friend of mine, Mike Heverline, who recently passed, called Suffer Not the Trail Unmarked. Lost my way, and suffered not the trail I left unmarked. My return was not a gift to give until I found a voice so crowded world, until my first step into darkened wood, and then this hush inward as a rift would separate and cut one continent from another, and the river would cease and fall. Murder of crows above me, jackdaws golden black from sliced sun. My sense stifled deaf to only vision in the stillness of movement. Branch, rustle, leaf to drizzle, seed, and pollination's early frost. And then the russet birds, song heard every day in our impermanence. This is a song about an uncle who misses his niece. This is from Texas, where my wife is from. It's called The Day Lily Left, Corpus Christi. Dear Beauregard, I regret to inform you that your prized miniature was devoured by a swarm of bees on the North Fork by the spring. When I pulled up in the Chevy, the last of them buzzed away from the carcass and headed south towards town, leaving just the bridle and gunny sack. Lily, as you were apt to call her, didn't have a chance, and I laid her to rest. Since you left last July, I've been in diligent regard and filled the feed trough every day in hoping she'd return to stall and water down to hay and barn. But the wild stay wild, and the only way I found her was to report that these same bees attacked a little girl in Corpus Christi, blonde girl, no more than 12, and I began to think of you and how similar you looked. The both of you in tails and jeans, sturdier than the hog's thigh at your Aunt Matilda's. Naturally, then, I wanted to see Lily, and drove off in the middle of the night, till I found her usual range under a bright moon, and near the old shack your daddy kept to get away and drink when life threatened to drive him mad. So that's where I found your horse, all bones and restless even in death, rattling. I sure wish you would come back and help me a little bit with this loneliness. Next poem is about a Lancaster man that I knew called, he was burned in a fire, and it's called Mr. Murray and the Rule of Nines. Queen Street bustled with the sound of outdoor cafes and the artifacts just piled up in the corner for the stars to try on set. Deco and the Rule of Nines for everybody's part. The reading script, past dark, involved a fire in the studio apartment where the owner of props fell asleep to smoke and mirrors. Every night the attic cot laid waste to disconnect the wires of his mind. The door closed, bell ring above, the cantor sing whistled shut, and the movie set shut down below, the stacks of jeans and jewelry in the cases by his bed. After all is said and done, the formula applies to fluid and resuscitation. The head and arms require banding to the ligament and sinew. 18%. Arms and legs are like the linings and innings of a game before the darkness flips the light. Everything changes when the electricians struggle to keep up with the fashion of the spark. But I saw you last night in cloth, still smiling and perfectly standing on your mark. This next poem is called When a Horse Goes Down. This is written in Stevens, where I'm residing now. When a horse goes down, the sparrow falls. You brush it down the gutter side and let the sweeper crush the bones to post and grind. The woodman saw and fell a tree and cut it up the hallway for burning or to build, but nothing moves again. But when a horse goes down, you dig a trench and bury her remains exactly where her last breath drained the ground. My brother died in France, and somehow found himself in Maine. The guns saluted, every color in the sky past blue and gray. The roses swept away by random wind to wither without sound. The fires in the barrels tethered smoke and choked the wound around. But when a horse goes down, you dig a trench and bury her remains exactly where her last breath drained the ground. Perhaps the weight of all, the heavier the heart, dictates destination's fall. The lorry straps can hold just so much loss before the buckles brace. But all of that is just apology to labor lost in love. For I have carried away from bigger burdens to a place that none have found. But when a horse goes down, you dig a trench and bury her remains exactly where her last breath drained the ground. My final poem is called The Holding On. It was written on the Conestoga. The last aluminum boat scraped off the shale and lunged forward from the wind tumult and the cut wave that sliced the bank of rock. Before the sunrise and the green valley erupts in spring-fingered leaves, the final gasp of winter with her onion snow blows white the yellow blossom weed. And then it is over. The orange cast of warmth, as early morning's breath in spring whisper across the follied hurry of cackle brown nests that nestle in awakening trees. All the snow is melted, and another hold on has been labored lost to the gentle touch of sparrow as he scurries to the grist of earth bosom to moist beneath his delicate claw. My awkward step to flat bottom encourages balance as an oar drifts past the stern, but she tangles in the bramble, waiting for me to catch up and reach past the thorny bricket. All is in the rowing away, from shore to stream and drifting, feeling the current of release. Beside me on the boat bench is a broken blue egg.